Hey everyone, Josh here, and today I'm in Cherry Grove on Fire Island, and we're going to have some fun in the sun. It is one of my favorite places on earth, and it is sheer paradise, only 2 hours from New York City. And there's so much to do here, so I want to show you everything, so let's get going. So I'm outside the Ice Palace and Grove Hotel, which is sort of the center of Cherry Grove. Now, the Ice Palace is a world-famous disco that dates all the way back to the early 50s, 60s, and was at the height of its sort of disco emporiumism in the late 70s, where people in the 70s would come out and try out their new disco songs here in Cherry Grove, and then they would expand out into the other parts of the country. So it became world-renowned as like the place for nightclub and disco. The hotel behind us is also part of the Ice Palace and Grove Hotel. And like I said, it's the center of Cherry Grove. So let's go inside and talk to some folks who not only work here, but also are part of the Ice Palace scene and continuing its legacy. So I'm here with the general manager of the Ice Palace and Grove Hotel, Piro. And as I said before, the Ice Palace and the Grove Hotel is the literal and proverbial heart and soul and center of Cherry Grove. Is that a fair statement, sir?
You can't miss it. You walk off the ferry and what's that huge building?
It's the big blue building.
It's the, probably of all of Fire Island, even the straight communities, we have the biggest bar, the biggest nightclub, and certainly the biggest hotel. It's the heart and soul of Cherry Grove, you know? You're nowhere until you've been to the palace.
That's right, that's exactly right. And tell us a little bit about the history, because it is just steep. I was trying to explain in my own sort of broken way the history of the Ice Palace.
Well, it goes back to the early 50s when I was in the cradle. It was a hotel at first, and then it became a big tavern, and then it became a club, and then it became the Ice Palace. We have shows here 7 days a week, and we love to accommodate our customers. We have drag, we have Broadway at the beach, and this year we've already had Justin Bond, and we're about to have Liza Minnelli next week.
Amazing.
Margaret Cho.
Amazing.
My all-time favorite, Sandra Bernhard. I'm going to be sitting in the front row. I can't wait.
And what do you think it is about the Ice Palace and the Grove Hotel that makes it so special? I mean, everybody just flocks to it. I mean, it's got such a great vibe to it.
Well, there's a history to it. And because it's so big, too. I mean, sometimes, you know, if the island's not that crowded, we cut down the size of the dance floor because we don't want people to realize that it's cavernous at times. But on a holiday or a special Saturday night, this place is the underwear party, wall-to-wall men.
Wall-to-wall.
Wall-to-wall men. And we're hoping to bring back that vibe from the 70s, you know, the pre-AIDS era.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's coming back. The men are coming back, the young men are coming. The talent is here, people come for the shows, they come for the freedom, they come to be gay.
Well, thank you so much, and congratulations on all the wild success this summer and always. And I can't tell you on a personal level how much I really appreciate all the work you guys do to make us have a really wonderful summer out here.
You're welcome, and thank you. And hi out to everybody there on TV land. Come to Fire Island, come to the Ice Palace. I guarantee you a good time.
You heard it. So today I am with Daniel Nardicchio, who has been called the Willy Wonka of New York nightlife. And he has taken his show on the road to Cherry Grove this summer and has some amazing things that he's planned for all these people out here. Welcome.
Hey, good to see you.
How you doing?
I'm great. This is a great day. It's beautiful out in Cherry Grove today.
Well, you know, I'm pouring sweat. We're sitting by the pool, just so everybody knows, like, I am pouring sweat. Our makeup girl has quit because it's been so hot. Anyway, so tell us about some of the plans you've got for the summer. I know you're working at the Ice Palace specifically, and you've got some amazing, amazing things coming up.
Well, the big one everyone's talking about, of course, is Alan coming with Liza Minnelli. That one's the big one that we got going on. But also we've got I got Margaret Cho coming out on August 19th, and Sandra Bernhard, Justin Vivian Bond, Meow Meow from Australia.
It's called the Icon Series, correct?
Yes.
And what made you decide this summer, 2012, that you were going to be like, you know what, I'm going to fucking like blow it out in Cherry Grove?
I was bored.
I believe that, actually.
I was here. I mean, I love Cherry Grove, don't get me wrong, but I was bored. I'd seen the same things year after year after year, and I thought, I mean, this was, Fire Island was where like celebrities came and like different people. Sarah Vaughan performed at the Ice Palace.
Wow.
You know, and Kay Ballard and different people. And I thought, what little bit could I do to kind of regain that luster?
Well, that actually is one of my questions because, when people think about Fire Island, I think the people who are probably watching this who are not from New York City have this like sort of glamorized, sort of idea. And that's why we specifically chose to do this episode of the show in Cherry Grove. And how did you convince them that like, oh, do it in Cherry Grove, not the Pines?
Well, I really went at it from the fact that the Ice Palace is the venue on the island. It's the biggest venue. It's one of the most historic. Disco actually started there, and by a guy, Michael Fesco, and he started disco there, and the tea dance started there. And so for me, it was about looking at old footage of the Ice Palace in its heyday and kind of recreating that with, like people like Margaret Cho. I'm not going to go back and get like old timers. I was going to go get some really, the younger, hipper performers like Justin Vivian Bond, perfect example.
Well, I jokingly always refer to you as seriously the hardest working person I think I know. You never stop moving, and aside from like trying to, that's a lie. Aside from like all these amazing acts that you have booked, you also do an underwear party. You have an afternoon tea party at the Ice Palace, and you also have a party at your house.
Well, yeah, I got a great crew. I mean, over the years, first thing I did was I got the Friday night underwear party under my belt, and now it runs itself. I almost don't even need to promote that; it just works. So we have a machine. Like we have the two guys that are running around here now, and they're out doing their thing, and then there's people arriving today, and everyone knows what they're doing. So I try to just oversee them.
And what do you think it is about Cherry Grove specifically, but also about Fire Island that just draws us to it?
I love the history of it. I really do. I mean, I think there's nothing like Cherry Grove. Someone once told me it's a community of 2,000 characters played by 200 people. It's like everyone's got these schizoid personalities and they're really wacky. And I think there's very few places like this in the U.S. anymore. And the fact that it's the kind of one of the birthplaces of gay liberation is really impressive to me. And the fact that it's still so, P-Town's become more straight, and the Castro and these different places are becoming more straight. And Cherry Grove is resisting that. Sure, but some straight, and I like straight people. Don't get me wrong. My parents were straight, and but I love the fact that you're walking around, you see your gay brethren everywhere, and like, I don't know, it's just, and the nudity, I love that. I think people are really relaxed here. I mean, it's nutty, it's a small town, but I love it.
And how would you explain to people who aren't really familiar with the whole sort of goings-on of Fire Island, like, how do you choose between going to the Pines and going to Cherry Grove?
You just go to the Grove.
I'm with you.
The Pines is hot. The guys are really hot, and like it's more if you like circuit parties and you like that sort of scene, I think it's fantastic. I go there when I want to like look at really pretty people. But the Grove is a little more diverse. I mean, the businesses are owned by a transsexual, 2 lesbians, a straight guy, a gay guy. You know what I mean? It's so diverse and multicultural, and I love that about it here. You see more people of color here. You see lots more lesbians, obviously, and different body types of gay guys. And the Pines is a little bit more, like I said, it's prettier, but sometimes you just don't want to have to suck in your stomach, like I've been doing for the last 10 minutes in this interview.
What do you mean? Wait, you're not wearing your Slimming Depends?
I'm wearing my girdle.
Your girdle.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we can't wait to we're going to come to bug you at the underwear party, because I do have a reputation for ruining your parties.
Absolutely. There's pictures of you doing it.
So I plan on being there tonight to ruin the party, because it's definitely going to be packed, and we'll ask some people how they feel about me ruining their party. How do you feel about that?
That sounds great.
All right, we'll see you there.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
All right. Okay, so right behind me is one of the fine dining restaurants here in Cherry Grove called Top of the Bay. It's upstairs with an unbelievable view of the Great South Bay. Executive chef Stephen Daniello has put together a Cajun-inspired menu that cannot be beat. So let's go talk to him and see what it's all about. So I'm here at Top of the Bay with executive chef Stephen Daniello, and it is truly not only one of the most elegant restaurants on the island, but one of the most elegant restaurants around. It's so beautiful. Congratulations. I love this restaurant. And tell us a little bit about how Top of the Bay came about.
Well, Top of the Bay came about 40 years ago, and it started out as a piano bar. It was not a restaurant. It wasn't a restaurant until like 1973, when a woman by the name of Amelia took it over and put a little kitchen and a dumbwaiter in the bottom, and then Top of the Bay was born.
What's changed since you've been here?
And lots has changed. Restaurants are starting to come back. Many years ago, it was family-owned. Chefs were part of the business, and the food and the restaurants were thriving. Somewhere along the line, it took a dip. So now the restaurants have started to come back. Chefs are starting to pop up, and things are changing. More of a dining for New York.
What do you think the challenges and the advantages to having a beautiful sort of fine dining restaurant in a small resort community are?
There are a lot of challenges. Not only our accessibility for food, there's always a demand for perfection and things that you can find in large cities. You know, the crowd's coming here expecting things, and we have to perform. We're on stage at all times, so it's quite challenging.
And as executive chef, how do you choose like what the menu is and decide? Does the menu vary at all, or do you sort of like set it for the season and sort of have standards? And
the menu changes 4 times a season.
Oh wow!
Yes, speaking of challenges. People are bored. They get bored. It's the same people. We have share owners, trippers, vacationers. So it changes 4 times a summer, and I do a lot of Cajun, seafood, Mediterranean, Italian, French, so I kind of mix it all up.
And tell us a little bit about your background. Like, I know you've sort of been all over the place, so give us a little sort of brief history of Stephen.
Okay. Well, originally I wanted to be an architect or an airline pilot.
Well,
so,
and now you're an executive chef. That makes sense.
No, I started in a bakery, a little hometown bakery, and there were restaurants and hotels booming, so I was working in them just to pay for a car, and somebody said, you have a natural ability. So I started working with it. Went to the Culinary Institute of America 3 years after graduating from high school. Everything just started taking off and moving forward.
And now you're here.
And now I'm here.
Beautiful island paradise. Do you just love being out here?
I do, and I just mentioned on Facebook the other day, I love living and working out here because I get to mix my job with my social life, and it makes for a perfect, you know, there's no cars.
No cars.
No traffic. And what it is what it is. You have a bad day, you go to the beach.
Exactly. What is it that you hope, as sort of the proprietor of this beautiful restaurant, like what is your sort of goal for people to, their takeaway from Top of the Bay?
Well, first of all, that they've had a great dining experience, that they want to return, that they will talk about it. And it remains part of history because, like I said, Top of the Bay began about 40 years ago, and you knew about the Monster here in Cherry Grove.
Yes, of course.
So that was a legendary restaurant. So I guess, you know, to keep it part of history, and that it's constantly always compared to the Monster, which it has been in several articles. So that's a good feeling and an achievement for me.
Well, that's awesome, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to sit and chat with us. And
thank you.
okay, so I am outside the elegant and amazing Belvedere Guest House for Men. It is the only clothing optional resort for men on Fire Island, and it was built by John Eberhardt in the 50s, who was a set designer in the 50s and 60s, and you'll be able to see reflections of that inside. So let's go inside and talk to Craig, who's the proprietor of the Belvedere now, and you'll get an inside look at this incredible and unique and one-of-a-kind resort. So now I am sitting with my back against the beautiful South Bay on the deck of one of the most extraordinary resorts I've ever actually been to, the wonderful Belvedere Hotel and Resort here in Cherry Grove, and I'm with the owner, Craig Eberhardt. Thank you so much for sitting down and talking with us today.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Tell us a little bit about the resort itself. How long have you been here and how it came about?
My adopted father, John Eberhardt, was a set designer, and he built the house and opened it as a gay hotel 55 years ago, back in 1957. He initially started building a house, and he thought that being on the water reminded him of Venice, so that he wanted to do it in the Venetian style. And he's also did all of the artwork and the murals and the frescoed ceilings inside. And it started out as this little 6-room hotel, and then over the years just grew.
And I bet in 32 years you must have seen some dramatic changes to not only Fire Island itself, but specifically Cherry Grove.
Yeah, in 32 years, I mean, I've seen amazing changes in Cherry Grove. The biggest change came, like, during the 80s with the whole AIDS crisis. What happened in Cherry Grove is Cherry Grove was at that time about 90% gay-owned. And as people died, fortunately, I'm very glad the women came in, gay women came in and started buying their houses. Because otherwise straight people would have come in and we would not have the oldest gay community in the country anymore. So they really, the women here in the Grove really saved the Grove from being gentrified and turning into Greenwich Village.
And what do you think it is that is attracting people to the Grove, like decade after decade? I mean, I sort of discovered it by accident, and I can't pull myself away. What do you think it is?
Well, I mean, Cherry Grove is just so naturally beautiful. I mean, the wooden boardwalks, there's no roads, no automobiles, no street lights. In Cherry Grove, you can really come here to the Grove, and you can really just let your hair down and be yourself. And also, Cherry Grove has this incredible feeling of a sense of community. It's one of the few places, even on the island, where as you walk down the boardwalk, everyone smiles and says hello to you, even if they don't know you. Not only are we the oldest gay hotel in the country, but we're also out here the only men-only clothing optional hotel. When people lose their clothes, they lose all their attitude. People come here and they make friendships by the pool, and they stay in contact over the winter, and then they plan their summer vacations for the next year to come here the same week.
When people come in, like, what do you find like their reaction to be to just the sort of setting of it?
They're kind of speechless. They don't know what to say. Back in the day, they would have called high camp. Everything is over the top. It's really too much is never enough of anything as far as the decor goes.
And what about like some of the detail in it? What are some of the sort of most fascinating things that maybe I wouldn't even know when I first came in?
A lot of the furniture is actually period 18th century furniture, including there's Marie Antoinette's cradle. Oh, wow. In there, which is one of the more interesting pieces in the house.
That's extraordinary. And what about like all the frescoes and the paintings?
That was all done by my father over, he was probably a good 45, 50 years worth of work until he got too old to do it anymore.
For people who've never been to Fire Island and don't really, because I always have a hard time sort of describing what the island is. People don't realize that there are no cars, there's just these boardwalks. Like, what could you say to people that, sort of give them a feel of what they're going to get when they get to the island?
It's like nowhere else in the country because, I mean, literally you get off of the ferry and everywhere you walk, it's very small town, yet it's very cosmopolitan at the same time. It's just very relaxed. I mean, you'll see like CEOs of companies in like their flip-flops and bikini walking down the boardwalk and, not worrying about who's seeing them or what people think or anything else. And, well, I mean, and unfortunately, sadly, it is still somewhat today, but years ago when I first came here, like in 1979, 3/4 of the boat would get off the boat and, their gay hair would come flopping down. And the drag would come out and everything. And then they'd get on the boat, and when they got off on the other side, they were back in the closet. They could come out to Cherry Grove, and they could be gay as they wanted to for an entire weekend, and then they had to go back to their life, which was still very closeted. Unfortunately, that still exists to some extent, but things have changed a lot in that respect, thank God.
Well, not to get too political about it, but do you think that, as we move more towards sort of like, equal rights for everybody, and we're sort of, there is a certain amount of assimilation with like the gay population moving towards mainstream culture, do you think that that's going to sort of dilute the sort of culture a little bit here?
For a lot of people, they spend all week with straight coworkers, with straight people, with straight friends, going to the theater with, heterosexual couple and their boyfriend and a heterosexual couple or whatever. And this is an opportunity, when they come out here to pretty much be surrounded just by gay people. And it is a different vibe.
Well, it is truly a different vibe, and it's one of the most unique vibes right here at the Belvedere Guest House. So if people want to find out more information, where do they have to go?
They could go to belvederefireisland.com.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and have a great summer.
Oh, thanks, Josh.
So I'm on the corner of Main and Bayview in the center of Cherry Grove. So you can see there are a lot of businesses around me, but right over my shoulder is one of the essential components to Cherry Grove called Cherry's. It is a bar and a restaurant and a bar and a restaurant, and you cannot have a true Cherry Grove experience without going into Cherry's and Cherry Lane. So we're going to talk to the owners of Cherry's and Cherry Lane, Donna and Jacqué. So let's go see what they're up to. Okay, so when you come to Cherry Grove, there are two words that are synonymous with Cherry Grove, and that is Jacqué and Donna. And they are here with me tonight because they are the owners of not only a bar and a restaurant, but one of the nicest restaurants now in Cherry Grove. Thank you so much for sitting down and talking to me. So let's get right to it. I mean, here we are sitting in Cherry Lane Cafe, which is the sort of restaurant part of Cherry's. How long have you guys been doing this?
Since 2007, we've owned Cherry's.
And what just made you decide, like, you know what, we're going to go out to Cherry Grove? And had you been here before?
I used to work out here in '94. I worked at the original Monster. And then I worked at the Ice Palace. I ran that for like 10 years. And then Donna is a retired cop. And she asked me if we want to buy Cherry's when she retired. And that's what we did. We bought it.
And what is it like running a business in a summer gay resort?
As Jacqué always says, it's like being a den mother in summer camp, except for everybody's on drugs and alcohol.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right? And this is our baby. This is our baby son.
We'd be remiss in not mention that, like, Cherry's and Cherry Lane is sort of the center of a lot of social activity here. And so you guys must see all sorts of things come the summer.
Oh, a lot of stuff. A lot of crazy stuff. Between the staff and the people that come here, just everybody's unique.
Well, you know, one of the things that's interesting that you mentioned the staff, you know, people think, because I've been coming out here now for several years, they think that I work at Cherry's because I hang out with your staff members. So I'm always like, yeah, I work over there. But you have an incredibly loyal staff, which says a lot about both of you.
They're like our kids. They're like our kids. They're like our family, you know. We always treat Cherry's that way. I mean, who's crying? Who's in the kitchen having a meltdown? You know, who missed freight? And if somebody misses freight, you know, freight is all the beer that we get and everything, then Jacqué has them pick up all the cigarette butts out of all the cracks in the deck.
I can't tell you how highly your staff obviously speaks of you, and it's, you know, certainly shown by their loyalty of coming back year after year. And this year, not only like do you guys work your fucking asses off here at Cherry's and Cherry Lane, but you decided, oh, you know, we're going to open another restaurant.
Sandcastle.
And how is that going?
Great. It's our first year. Donna renovated the whole place, all her ideas, her design, her everything. It's beautiful.
And what was the impetus? Why did you guys decide last summer, you know, it was formerly Jumpin' Jacks, and you're like, what made you decide, you know, we have to work even harder?
Well, this is it. You know, like, Cherry's is more than enough for us, and it's a handful, and you really have to be a special person to be able to own a place and run a place out here. It's incredible to deal with people that have to live together, work together, and go out and party together. They never get to separate. So when the other place down the road over there was kind of up for sale, right, we thought to ourselves, well, we either take it and make it part of the family and keep Cherry Grove what it was, or take the chance of letting it go to maybe, not that it matters, but maybe other people that their interests are not in the gay world and their interests are not in Cherry Grove. Their interests are in money, purely money. I've been coming here since 1983. Cherry Grove means so much to me. So to make this business better, every business needs to step up and improve, you know, and it needs to come from the heart, and it needs to be owned and operated in a fashion that's just different than anywhere else in the world, because this is a little community, you know. One
of the things that I tell people all the time is just come with me. Once you experience Cherry Grove, you are never ever going to want to leave.
Also, you have to realize this. There's a lot of, you know, back in the 80s and the 70s, even in the 50s, if you were gay, there was no place else to go in the world except for Cherry Grove, right? Or the Pines, you know? No place. Maybe the West Village, you know? Nowadays, you know, being gay is accepted everywhere, so they say, oh, we're gay friendly, or it's gay. But this island is gay, and if you're straight, you're welcome. And we accept you, and we have straight friends. it's a very good thing, you know.
I'm such an addict. I can't imagine. Like, people are always like, well, aren't you going to take vacation? I'm like, this is my vacation. Like, I can't imagine being anywhere else. Well, thank you guys so much. And congratulations on the success of the new restaurant. It's amazing. And you guys just continued great success. And thanks for making my particular summers for the last several years really wonderful. Thank you. Absolutely. Well, that about does it for today. I mean, I think we've shown you as much as we possibly can of Cherry Grove in one day. So I hope you enjoyed the beauty and the paradise that is Cherry Grove Fire Island. So come out and experience it for yourself. It's just a short train ride away from New York City. And remember, if you ever want to write to me, you can reach me at justjosh@heretv.com. That's justjosh@heretv.com. So until next time, I'm Josh, and we'll see you again soon. Hopefully, I will see you out here. Now, remember, if you ever want to mention anything... What? I hope you had as much... No, it's only 2 hours away from New York City, an easy train ride. So we hope... That about does it. It's just a short... Huh? This... Or back here... I was so close! Why? Why? I just can't get through it. Why is it always the last one?